Most diners had a predictable rhythm, morning rush, quiet afternoons, and evening regulars. But tonight, something felt different. The air inside the small family-owned diner was thick with an energy Emily couldn't quite place. There was an unusual tension, a feeling that something was about to go wrong. Emily adjusted her apron, scanning the room. The usual customers were here, yet something was off. Maybe it was the silence in the corner booth. That was where she saw him. A boy. Alone. Too young to be sitting by himself. His clothes were slightly rumpled, his hair unkempt, and his small hands clenched together as he stared at the table. He looked hungry, but he had no food, no parents, no explanation. Emily hesitated, her instincts warring with her job. Something wasn't right. She approached cautiously. "Hey there, sweetie. Are you waiting for someone?" The boy barely looked up. His voice was soft. "No, I'm just hungry." A chill ran down her spine. Something about the way he said it made her heart ache. How long had he been sitting here? Where were his parents? Emily glanced at Mr. Grayson, the diner's strict manager, who was busy counting money at the register. If he caught her giving away free food, there would be trouble, but she couldn't ignore this. She turned and quickly grabbed a plate of warm pancakes from the kitchen, setting it in front of the boy. "Eat up, sweetheart. It's on me." He didn't hesitate. He devoured the food like he hadn't eaten in days. Emily felt a lump in her throat. Then, just as the boy finished his last bite, a shadow loomed over the table. Mr. Grayson. "Emily?" His voice was sharp, cutting through the din of the restaurant. "What do you think you're doing?" She straightened her back. "He was hungry. I gave him food." Grayson's face darkened. "You stole from the business. That's money out of my pocket." "It was just a plate of pancakes." "You're fired." The words echoed through the diner. Silence fell. The boy looked up, eyes wide with fear. Emily exhaled, heart pounding. She could fight. She could argue. But what was the point? She took off her apron and set it on the table. "Good luck running this place without a soul, Grayson." She turned to the boy and gave him a small smile. "You'll be okay, sweetheart." She left without looking back. The next day, Emily was stuffing her belongings into a duffel bag when she heard gasps outside. She peered through the window. A sleek black limousine pulled up in front of the diner. The door opened. A tall man stepped out, dressed in an expensive suit, radiating power and authority. Jonathan Reed. People whispered, "That's Jonathan Reed, the billionaire." Emily's stomach twisted. Why was he here? Jonathan stepped inside, holding the little boy's hand. The same boy from last night. Grayson's face turned ghostly white. "Who fired this woman?" Jonathan's voice was calm, yet lethal. Grayson stammered. Sir, she was stealing." Jonathan cut him off. "She was feeding my son." Gasps rippled through the diner. Emily froze. "What?" Jonathan knelt beside the boy. "Liam, why didn't you tell me you were hungry? Where was your nanny?" The boy sniffled. "She left me at the park. I got scared. I walked here." Jonathan's gaze darkened. He turned back to Emily. "You helped my son when no one else did. I owe you everything." Emily's mind reeled. Jonathan exhaled. "I want to offer you a job, a much better one." Emily blinked. "A job?" "Yes, as Liam's personal assistant and caretaker, with triple your salary." Her heart raced. I don't know what to say." "Say yes." Before she could respond, a sudden noise cut through the moment. Glass shattering, a car door slamming, a scream from outside. Emily's blood ran cold. Jonathan's bodyguards moved fast, but not fast enough. The last thing Emily saw before everything went black was a pair of masked figures rushing toward them. Darkness, muffled sounds, a sharp, pounding headache. Emily's eyes fluttered open, her vision swimming. She was lying on a cold concrete floor. Her wrists ached. She tried to move, realized they were bound. Rope. tight. A dull, flickering light buzzed overhead. Then she heard it, crying. She turned her head. A few feet away, Liam was curled up, shaking. His small face was streaked with tears. "Liam," she whispered, forcing her voice to stay calm. "It's okay, sweetheart. I'm here." The little boy looked up at her, his lip trembling. "I want my dad." Emily's stomach twisted. Where was Jonathan? Did he even know what had happened? Footsteps echoed outside the door. Heavy, slow, deliberate. Emily held her breath as a tall, masked man stepped inside. His voice was low and cold. "You shouldn't have interfered." Emily forced herself to stay strong. "Who are you? What do you want?" The man ignored her, walking straight to Liam. The boy flinched as the stranger knelt beside him. "You're worth a lot of money, kid." Emily's pulse pounded in her ears. A kidnapping. This wasn't random. Jonathan Reed had enemies, and she and Liam were caught in the middle. The man turned his attention back to her. "You're coming with us. If you behave, you'll live." Emily gritted her teeth. She wasn't going down without a fight. The moment the man untied her ankles, she struck. A hard kick to his shin. He cursed, stumbling back. Emily lunged for Liam, yanking him behind her. "Run!" Liam hesitated, terror in his eyes. But Emily didn't let go. She pulled him toward the door. A gunshot rang out. The bullet slammed into the wall, inches from her head. Emily froze. The masked man growled, yanking her back. "Stupid girl!" He shoved her to the floor. Liam screamed. Then, a loud crash. Gunfire. The door burst open. Jonathan Reed. Jonathan's face was pure fury. Behind him, his bodyguards swarmed in, weapons drawn. The kidnappers barely had time to react. Chaos erupted. Emily shielded Liam as bullets tore through the room. The masked man tried to grab the boy, but Jonathan was faster. He tackled him, slamming a fist into his face. The man hit the ground, hard. Panting, Jonathan turned to Emily, his eyes blazing. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, pulling Liam close. "We're okay." Jonathan exhaled, then turned back to the kidnappers. "They made a mistake." His voice was ice. "Now, they pay." Before Emily could respond, one of the masked men groaned, reaching for something inside his jacket. A detonator. Jonathan's eyes widened. "Get down!" A deafening explosion rocked the building. Flames erupted. Smoke filled the air. Emily grabbed Liam and ran. Jonathan's hand found hers, pulling her through the chaos. Then, the floor collapsed beneath them, falling. Emily's scream was lost in the deafening roar of the collapsing floor. Gravity pulled her down, Liam's small hand slipping from hers. Then, impact. A sharp, jarring pain as she hit something hard. Dust and debris filled the air, choking her lungs. A distant ringing echoed in her ears. "Liam?" Her voice was hoarse, barely a whisper. No response. Panic surged through her. She tried to move, but a heavy beam pinned her leg. The heat from the fire above sent waves of suffocating warmth through the darkness. Then, a weak cough. "Emily?" "Liam." Relief was instant, but short-lived. The boy was alive, but where? Jonathan's voice cut through the chaos. "Emily! Liam!" He was close, but so was danger. The ceiling above groaned, threatening another collapse. Emily gritted her teeth, pushing against the debris on her leg. It wouldn't budge. Jonathan appeared through the smoke, eyes wild. "Are you hurt?" She nodded toward the beam. "I'm stuck. Get Liam first." Jonathan didn't hesitate. He found Liam a few feet away, shaken but unharmed. Scooping him up, he turned back to Emily. "I'm not leaving you." A sudden creak. The remaining structure above them shuddered violently. Jonathan's jaw clenched. "Hold on!" He grabbed the beam, straining with all his strength. Emily bit back a cry as pain shot through her leg, but finally, the weight lifted. Jonathan pulled her up, wrapping an arm around her for support. Then the sound of sirens. Help was coming. They stumbled outside, coughing, gasping for fresh air. Firefighters rushed past them into the burning wreckage. Emily cradled Liam close, her heart still hammering. Jonathan turned, his face unreadable as he watched the building collapse further. This wasn't random. Emily frowned. What do you mean? Jonathan's gaze darkened. They weren't just after money. He exhaled. They wanted to send a message. Emily shivered. Who are they? Before Jonathan could answer, a sleek black car screeched to a halt nearby. The door swung open, and a tall woman in an expensive coat stepped out. Her cold eyes locked onto Jonathan. Hello, Jonathan. Emily felt Jonathan's grip on her tighten. Madeline. Emily's stomach sank. Whoever this woman was, she wasn't here to help. Madeline's lips curled into a smirk. You thought this was over? Jonathan took a step forward, shielding Emily and Liam. Stay away from my son. Madeline let out a cold laugh. Oh, Jonathan, you really don't understand, do you? She nodded toward the street. Emily followed her gaze, and her blood turned to ice. Lined up along the curb were more black cars, engines running, doors opening, figures stepping out, dressed in dark suits. Surrounding them, a trap. Emily's breath caught. Jonathan tensed. Then, a single gunshot rang out. Emily flinched, instinctively pulling Liam close. Her heart pounded, her ears ringing. Jonathan didn't move. His body was rigid, eyes locked on Madeline. Slowly, he turned his head. One of the suited men staggered backward, clutching his shoulder. Blood seeped through his suit. Jonathan's bodyguards. They had fired first. Chaos erupted. Get in the car, now! Jonathan barked, shoving Emily and Liam toward a black SUV. Emily barely had time to react before Madeline's men drew their weapons. Another shot rang out, shattering a car window inches from her. Liam screamed. Jonathan pulled his own gun and fired back, his expression ice cold. Move, Emily! He roared. Emily's body moved on autopilot. She yanked open the SUV's door, shoving Liam inside as bullets whizzed past. Jonathan dove in after them, slamming the door shut. Drive, he ordered. The driver hit the gas. Tires screeched. Through the back window, Emily saw Madeline standing calmly amidst the chaos, her lips curling into a satisfied smile. She wasn't trying to kill them. She was playing a bigger game. The SUV sped through the city, weaving between cars. Jonathan's phone buzzed. He answered, his voice sharp. Status? A deep voice on the other end responded. Safe house secured, perimeters tight, no tails. Jonathan hung up. We'll be safe there for now. Emily wasn't so sure. Minutes later, the SUV pulled into a remote estate hidden behind steel gates. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter. Jonathan carried Liam inside, his grip protective. Emily followed, still shaken. The house was sleek, modern, but eerily quiet. We'll be safe here, Jonathan assured them. Emily swallowed hard. Who is she, Jonathan? What does she want? Jonathan's jaw tightened. Madeline and I have history, and she doesn't like loose ends. Emily frowned. Loose ends? Before Jonathan could answer, the power cut out. Darkness swallowed them whole. Then, a voice over the intercom. Smooth. Cold. Jonathan, 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 you really thought you could hide? Madeline. Emily's stomach dropped. A red laser dot appeared on Jonathan's chest. Then another, and another. The house wasn't safe. They were already surrounded. Emily's breath hitched as the red dots multiplied. One on Jonathan, one on her, one on Liam. Jonathan didn't move. His grip on Liam tightened. The air in the room thickened with tension. Get down, he whispered. Emily didn't hesitate. She dropped to the floor, pulling Liam with her. Jonathan followed, shielding them both with his body. Then the glass shattered. Gunfire erupted. the room filled with the deafening crack of bullets slicing through walls, furniture, everything. Jonathan grabbed Emily's hand and yanked her toward the hallway. "Move!" They ran, weaving through the dark corridors as bullets rained behind them. The safe house was a death trap. A door to the left. Jonathan kicked it open. A hidden passage. "Go!" he commanded. Emily scooped up Liam and ran. Jonathan followed, sealing the door behind them. The gunfire dimmed. The passage was narrow and cold. Concrete walls, dim lighting. Liam whimpered. Emily held him close, whispering soothing words despite her own terror. Jonathan pressed a hidden panel. A small monitor flickered to life, showing security feeds. Madeline's men were inside, searching, destroying. Jonathan clenched his jaw. They were waiting. This wasn't an attack. It was an extraction. Emily's stomach twisted. Extraction? Jonathan turned to her, eyes dark. "They don't want to kill us. They want to take us." A cold chill crawled up Emily's spine. The passage led to an underground garage. A single black car sat waiting. Jonathan rushed forward, pressing a code into a panel. The car beeped, unlocking. Emily hurried inside, Liam clinging to her. Jonathan slid into the driver's seat, starting the engine. Then, a voice over the intercom, Madeline's voice. "Oh, Jonathan! Running again? How predictable!" Jonathan cursed, slamming the car into gear. Tires screeched, the garage doors rumbled open, light flooded in, then headlights, dozens of them. Black SUVs blocked the exit. Armed men stepped out, weapons raised. Jonathan's hands tightened on the wheel. Emily's pulse raced. "Jonathan!" Then Liam gasped. A figure stepped forward from the SUVs. Madeline, and she wasn't alone. Beside her, a man, tall, dressed in a sleek suit. Liam's small voice trembled. "Daddy?" Emily's breath caught. Her blood ran cold. Jonathan's hands turned white on the steering wheel. His face was unreadable, but his eyes burned with fury. The man smiled. "Hello, son." Emily's heart pounded. Liam clung to her, his small fingers digging into her arm. Jonathan didn't move. He stared at the man standing beside Madeline, the man who had just called Liam his son. "Daddy?" Liam's voice was barely a whisper, but it echoed in the silence. Jonathan's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "You have no right to call him that," he said through gritted teeth. The man smirked. "Oh, but I do. I'm his real father after all." Emily gasped, her mind racing. This couldn't be true, could it? Jonathan's jaw clenched. "You lost that right years ago, Grayson." Madeline chuckled, stepping forward. Jonathan, always so righteous. Did you really think you could keep the boy forever?" Emily's stomach turned. "What are you talking about?" Grayson's eyes flickered to her. "Oh, you must be the waitress I've heard so much about." He sneered. "You really think you belong in this mess?" Jonathan growled, but Madeline raised a hand. "Let's not waste time." She turned to Emily. "Jonathan never told you, did he? Liam isn't his biological son." Emily shook her head. "That's a lie." Madeline smirked. "Is it?" Jonathan exhaled sharply. "Liam is mine. I raised him. I protected him." Grayson scoffed. "Protected him? You stole him." Emily's world spun. "Jonathan?" she whispered. Jonathan looked at her, pain flickering in his eyes. "It's not what it sounds like." Grayson's voice darkened. "Isn't it? You took my son and disappeared. I've spent years looking for him." Emily's knees felt weak. Liam wasn't Jonathan's? Then why? Jonathan's hand clenched into a fist. "I took Liam to save him. You were going to use him as a bargaining chip. I did what I had to do." Madeline's laughter sent chills down Emily's spine. "So noble, but it ends tonight." The men around Madeline and Grayson raised their weapons. Jonathan glanced at Emily, then at Liam. His mind was racing. Then, he hit the gas. The car lurched forward. Tires screeched. Guns fired. Emily screamed as bullets slammed into the windows. Jonathan swerved, barely missing Madeline as she leaped back. More SUVs roared to life, chasing after them. Jonathan gritted his teeth. Hold on. The car tore through the narrow passage, speeding toward the exit. A blockade loomed ahead. More armed men. Emily's heart pounded. Jonathan, we won't make it. He didn't answer. He just pressed harder on the gas. Then, a deafening explosion. Flames erupted behind them. A shockwave slammed into the car, throwing them off course. Jonathan fought to regain control, but it was too late. The car skidded, hit a barrier, and flipped. Emily's scream was the last thing she heard before everything went black. Darkness, a ringing in Emily's ears, the taste of blood in her mouth. She forced her eyes open. The world around her spun. The car lay on its side, smoke curling from the hood. The windshield was shattered. Liam. Jonathan. Panic surged through her. Liam? She rasped. A small whimper. He was alive. Relief flooded her, but it was short-lived. Heavy boots approached. Madeline's men. Jonathan groaned, shifting beside her. His forehead was bleeding, but his grip was still firm on the gun in his hand. We have to move, he murmured, voice strained. Emily fumbled with her seatbelt. Jonathan kicked open the door. The moment they stumbled out, flashlights blinded them. Madeline stood at the front of the wreckage, her arms crossed. Grayson stood beside her, his expression unreadable. You really don't know when to quit, do you? Madeline sighed. It's over, Jonathan. Jonathan pushed Emily and Liam behind him. You'll have to kill me before I let you take him. Madeline smirked. That's the plan. Grayson stepped forward. Jonathan, enough of this. Liam is my son. Jonathan's voice was ice. You don't deserve him. Grayson hesitated. His eyes flickered to Liam. The boy clung to Emily, trembling. For the first time, doubt crossed his face. Is this what you really want? Jonathan pressed. To rip him away from the only family he's ever known? Madeline scoffed. You're wasting your breath. She nodded toward her men. Take them. Gunfire erupted. Jonathan fired first, taking down 2 of Madeline's men. He shoved Emily toward the trees. Run! Emily clutched Liam and bolted. Bullets whizzed past them. Jonathan followed, covering them as they disappeared into the woods. Madeline's furious scream echoed behind them. Find them! The forest was dense, the ground uneven. Emily's legs burned, but she didn't stop. Liam's breath was ragged against her shoulder. Jonathan kept pace, reloading his gun. We need to find a way out. A clearing ahead. A road. Headlights appeared in the distance. A black SUV. Another enemy. Or salvation. Jonathan raised his gun, ready. Then, the driver's side door flew open. A woman stepped out, tall, dark hair, a gun in her hand. Samantha? Jonathan breathed. Emily's heart leapt. Jonathan's ally. Their last hope. Samantha's gaze swept over them. Get in, now! No hesitation. They piled into the SUV. The moment the doors slammed shut, Samantha floored it. The tires screeched as they sped off. Gunfire chased them, but they were gone. Hours later, they were far from the chaos. Safe. Jonathan sat across from Grayson, who had finally surrendered. Liam slept in Emily's arms, peaceful, unaware of the battle fought for him. Jonathan exhaled. It's over. Grayson rubbed his face. You're right. I thought I wanted him back, but I see it now. His voice cracked. He belongs with you. Emily's throat tightened. Relief washed over her. Jonathan stood, looking down at Liam. You'll never take him from us again. Grayson nodded. I won't. Madeline was arrested. Her empire dismantled. The nightmare was over. For the first time in years, peace settled over them. Emily reached for Jonathan's hand. He squeezed it. "You saved him," she whispered. Jonathan smiled. "We saved him." Liam stirred, eyes fluttering open. A sleepy smile curled his lips. "Are we safe now?" Jonathan kissed his forehead. "Yeah, buddy, we're safe." Emily let out a shaky breath, watching the sunrise paint the sky. A new beginning. The past was behind them. And the future was theirs to write.